Today I'm going to show you how to set up your Instagram profile page to actually be optimized for conversions. This is extremely important because at the end of the day, when somebody sees your ad or they see your organic content, the next step that they're going to see is they're going to see your Instagram profile. So if you don't have it set up the same way you would set up a landing page, you're going to miss out on a bunch of conversions and probably thousands of dollars worth of sales. So today I'm going to break down everything that you need to do from your profile picture, your bio, your highlights, your grid, and even how to split test which profiles work better than others. This is something that I don't see anybody talking about, so it's something that you should 100% do. It'll be towards the end of the video because I have to cover everything first, but be sure to stick around for that. All right, so before we get into anything, you have to understand that the two main currencies that are most valuable to you are both qualified attention, so attention from the right kind of people, as well as trust. Because without those two things, you will never be able to convert anybody. So this kind of ties into the very first thing is your profile picture. It has to be clean with a clean background, and it has to be a real photo. Because if you're using an AI photo, people will be able to see right through it. Even if you're using like the more realistic AI generated images, a real photo shows that you're a real person, and that helps you build trust. Even if it's like a 0.5% move in the trust building factor in someone's brain, that takes you a lot further than if somebody were to think like, oh yeah, is this guy even a real person? Like, this is why you need to show some personality in your content as well, but that's not what we're going to be discussing in today's video. You just want to seem like a real person, and you're going to see how all of that ties into everything in just a second. So make sure that your profile photo is not AI generated. It has good lighting and it actually shows your face. I'm not going to get into like the super technical, like geeky stuff that people talk about on LinkedIn, how you need to have like a slight smile so that it increases like levels of trust that you can build with somebody. Just make sure that it's a clean photo, something that you're happy with. If you're happy in the photo smiling, that's probably better, but don't overthink this. Just get a real photo of you with a tight crop and people can actually see your face, even if they're looking at your picture without zooming into it. So this is what my Instagram profile looks like. This is probably the best photo that I have because I don't take enough photos and I definitely should, so I'll probably update this soon, but this is a cool photo that my friend took when we were at a rooftop and I was having a cigar. He just took his camera out and took a photo, so I decided to use this one. The next thing is you want to optimize your bio using this formula. So who you help, the result you bring, and the mechanism that you're using. It's very simple, but try not to make it like a copy paste of everybody else in your industry. Try to make it unique to you. This is a little bit tricky because if you make it look the same as everybody else in your industry, it will just look like a copy paste offer and a copy paste Instagram profile, and that's the last thing you want. So throw in some flair or like a personal thing about you that maybe you can help to make yourself seem a little bit more unique. And the way that I did that, I'll show you that. And the way that I did that, I'll show you in just a second, is I said that I'm not a course seller because we don't sell courses. We help people scale by partnering with them and working with them one-on-one. You do this ultimately to build authority, and you have to have one CTA. Do not confuse anybody who's seeing anything. Don't give them options, just tell them where to go. So have one CTA, one link, don't confuse anybody. Just make it very clear what the next step should be. So like I said, here's my bio. It's not a course seller, $1 million in client pipeline value, and I'm scaling info offers to 27K plus a month with a V2L funnel, and here's how we do it. This link goes to a long form video that I have already up on this channel where I explain our case study of how we were actually able to achieve this result for one of our clients. So next up, we have our pin post. I like to make the first pin some form of proof, whether it's a client result, a client case study, or a testimonial. This way that you're able to lead with proof and show people that you actually know what you're talking about and that you've achieved some results. Then you want to have a general intro post to you and your offer and what you kind of do, as well as an origin story post to kind of show a bit of personality, show where you came from and how you made the transformation to where you are today, because people want to get bought into you, not only the unique mechanism that you bring to the table, because they don't really care about what you're going to do for them, just more so to see the transformation. And they also need to get bought into you, because these days competing with value is really hard. So you want to just show your personality, let your personality shine, and you'll be able to attract the right kind of people that you want to work with anyways. This isn't a set in stone formula, so you should try rotating your pins every 2 or 4 weeks. I'll show you exactly how to do that at the end. Like I said, I'm gonna show you the exact way that we split test our bios to make sure that we're optimizing for conversion. So I'll show you that in just a second, but you really want to be switching out the pins every couple weeks or so. So this is the current setup I have, where the first post is proof, and the second one is, a little bit of personality about, my business partner and I. And the third one is just a fun one because I wanted to make it a little bit more lighthearted. I don't have an origin story post just yet. It's actually in the works right now. So I'm going to be switching that out eventually so that when people land on my page, if they want to learn a little bit more about me, they'll be able to see that. I also want to reiterate that for your pin post, I'm referring to your main grid. So the first grid that people see is the one that you have with your photos up and your carousels. This is also just mainly to show that you're like a real person. You don't want to get too detailed in terms of like the technicalities and this kind of stuff. That's for the Reels grid, which I'll explain in just a bit. So you want to make sure that the pin posts just show that you're legit, show that you're human, and show that you have some form of like social proof that you're actually living the life that you claim to live and that you're helping the people that you help. So just pictures with other people is a great way to do it. Pictures in cool locations or that kind of stuff, or of your life, is a really good way to do this setup as well. So for your highlights, this is where I see a lot of people go wrong. Oftentimes they'll have like 30 different highlight like stories on their page. So you have to like actually scroll through it all. And I'm just going to tell you the truth. Nobody's going to look through all of your highlights. Having all of those highlights up actually confuses people, and it does the opposite of building trust because they're just overwhelmed and they don't know what to look at, and nobody wants to get information overloaded. So I would keep it clean, keep it minimal, choose 5 of these ones that I have up here, and then make them 5 to 15 stories slides max. Because if you make it longer than that, people are likely not going to be able to read through it because they just are too impatient and they're not going to sit there and read every single one. So you want to keep this minimal and keep it light, and then you can also rotate it and see what works better than others. So definitely, in terms of priority, I would definitely have one that's like a start here. So you kind of explain what you do and throw in a couple client results here and there. Then you want to have one for clients or results. So just more results that you're bringing people every single week, every single month, however you're doing it. That's a great way to do it. FAQ is an optional one. I used to like to do this a lot because depending on the offer that you're currently running, you might have a lot of people asking the same kinds of questions. So you could, take some existing questions that people ask you when you do like a Q&A on your stories and turn that into an FAQ so that people can go through there and like kind of see if they have a question because they saw one of your reels and they're not so clear about something and they see an FAQ highlight. They might want to go through it and kind of learn a little bit more. They might have a specific question in mind that they're looking to answer. So when they quickly like swipe through it, they might be able to find the question they're looking for. So that's pretty good. An about page I would not really recommend for most people, but it has its place. Your offer is another really good thing to have up as well. If you want, you can show a little bit more about the process and the details of how you do things. Especially if you do things really different to other people, then it's a really good idea for you to highlight that, because if you're competing in an industry that already exists, which you likely are, then showing your unique mechanism in this story highlight could be a really cool thing to do. But in terms of priority, I would definitely prioritize results, clients, and a start here. Grid, that's a really good one. I forgot to add to this Miro board one that you could add to funnel people to your long form. So I currently have one here, which you'll see. It's called My Brain. I'm actually going to be updating it right after this video to basically add some of my favorite long form videos to get people to see the highlight story sequence. And then if they find a long form video where they want to like actually sit down and watch, it's a great way to get people to nurture on autopilot. I have it set up so somebody has to swipe up and DM me the keyword so they get access to it. This does 2 things. First of all, it shows that they're actually interested, because if it's just a link, they might not be really interested in it. But if they are actually going to swipe up and DM you the keyword, it's very likely that they're quite interested in seeing what you have to say. But more importantly, by getting people to swipe up and DM me a keyword to get access to the long form, I start a conversation with them in the DM where I can easily follow up and speak to these people privately to kind of continue the conversation there. Because if they just click a link, then you don't have an open conversation with them. But if you have the automation set up, or if you do it manually, then you've given yourself an excuse to why you can text them, and it feels a lot more natural and less salesy if you just ask for their opinion on the long form and that kind of stuff too. Then you can refer them to other videos, or you can turn it into a sales conversation. You can kind of go from there. The next one I have is just a start here one, because like I said, I'm still in the process of building all of this out. So I have a simple start here, one I'm going to be adding some results and all that kind of stuff too. The key is you want this to be fast and be clear, because like I said before, nobody's going to look through a 200 slide highlights stories because it just takes too long. People don't want to sit there and read a whole book worth of text. They just want to go in there, see that you know what you're talking about, read a couple cool client case studies, client results of people that are similar to them, and that's more than enough for what you need. Cool. All right, so on your Reels grid, you also want to have a similar kind of format where you're just trying to build trust, and this is where you can keep all of your more technical stuff. You don't want to pollute your main grid with a bunch of like random reels because it just looks ugly, and if you make things consistent, it really helps you build trust. So having a consistent brand style is key. So on your Reels grid, just keep all of the reels that you're uploading. You can even make custom thumbnails if you want. It's not absolutely necessary, but it definitely helps clean things up. The more consistent you can make things, the better it is, because consistency equals competence. And if you want to try new styles, which you should definitely be doing, that's exactly what the trial reels feature is for. You try different editing styles or different colors if you're changing them, that kind of stuff. I don't recommend you spend a bunch of time like split testing colors and this kind of stuff. But if you're really in the phase right now where you're just split testing like minor tweaks to see what works and what doesn't, or if you're testing a different kind of video format, whether it's like a split screen with a Miro, kind of like what I do a lot on my Instagram, or if you're doing like talking heads or like a podcast style clip, then you use trial reels, see if that works. If it does, you can move it to your main grid and you can start slowly updating the feed. That way you kind of keep it clean. And for your pin reels, you kind of want to follow a similar format to what I was explaining before. You have authority, so some form of a client result, your origin story and who you kind of help, like I said, I don't have all of this up yet. It's all in the process of being built because I'm kind of building this offer as I'm going. And this is what I advise all my clients to do, and they get pretty decent results from doing this. So for now, we just have a little story, like an anecdote of why we turned down a prospect who has 1 million followers. Long story short, if you want to check out the video after, you can. It's on my Instagram page. But turns out he was in an industry that we didn't really want to work with. One being that it would be considered not very moral, to say the least. So that's why we turned it down. And then another one is a client case study, our most famous case study, where we generated a $1.4 million client pipeline in terms of sales opportunity. That's the second pin post. And then the third one is just one of my best performing reels, which I've been also using as ads so that people can kind of see that that video has a little bit more views. I wouldn't recommend just putting something as a pin post just because it has more views. Like, sure, it can help because somebody's like, oh yeah, this guy has some videos that goes viral, but that's not the main reason why you want to be doing it. Ideally, you'd want to follow some kind of format like this so that people can easily access your most important information that you want to show them first. So client results, that gives you authority, an origin story to show your personality, and then who you help so that when somebody visits your profile, they can see if that identifies with them. And if your messaging is dialed in and you're getting the right kind of people onto your profile, the right kind of people who you would be helping would be seeing that kind of video. So I realized that I kind of explained this in the wrong order. The link in bio should have been explained with the bio section, but regardless, your link in bio should be something that directs people to learn a little bit more. So I like to personally use long forms because long form videos are great for nurturing people and you don't really have to spend too much time doing that because once you make the video, it just stays up. So I would recommend pushing people to long form, and in that video, you can get them to either DM you or go straight to a call. The option is yours. If you want to filter people a little bit more, put it as the DM option. If you want to just get as many calls booked as possible, just put it as the first link in the description and make that the CTA in your video. I would recommend that if you're getting tons of calls booked, then you probably want to make it the DM one so you can qualify people further and not waste your time on calls with unqualified people. But if you're at the stage where you're just willing to take as many calls as possible because you're getting like more market data or any of that kind of stuff, then, or you have a more generalized offer where you don't need to qualify people as hard because it's either like cheaper or applies to a larger population of the audience, then just do that. Just do a link in bio for the, sorry, first link in the description for the call. All right, so this is my favorite part about optimizing Instagram profiles is the actual split testing framework that we use to optimize for growth. So a lot of people don't actually consider that their profile picture and their bio and their pin post actually make a difference on their profile. But if you're actually leveraging Instagram as the first and the main part of your funnel, you best believe that your profile acts as a landing page and makes all the difference in terms of conversions. So this is exactly how we do it. And what we do is we always change one variable at a time so you're able to actually see whether something is changing. So if you change like all your pin posts and you change your bio and your profile picture all at the same time, you're not going to know what is making the difference. So change one thing at a time for a period of ideally a week. And you can test anywhere between 3 and 7 days. It depends on how much traffic you're getting. So if you're getting like 10,000 people onto your profile every day, then you can probably get to your result relatively quickly. But you want to have at least a couple thousand people or at least 1,000 people to see if the changes you're making are actually working. So you would change either your bio line 1 or bio line 2. It doesn't matter which part of your bio you change. You change the CTA, so what you're actually saying, like as the action somebody needs to do to get to the next step. You can change the link in the bio as well. That's over here. You can also change the order of the pinned posts as well. See if you made a recent video that you really like or a new client case study came up or something like that, then you can just put that on your pinned profile as well, or sorry, on your pinned post as well. So you can kind of switch this around and see what performs better. You can even update the thumbnails as well, kind of like what I just did right before the recording this video. Actually, I split tested, or I didn't split test rather. I actually updated a thumbnail on one of my pinned posts. So you can see here, it's not actually the footage from the video, but it's just a pinned post because it has a clear like title. So somebody can actually know what they're going to watch when they see the video. So that's something that you can do as well. But the point is, you just change one variable at a time. You don't have to take it so extreme to the point where you're like literally changing one thumbnail and seeing if that makes a difference. Like focus on the big needle movers first. So the lines in your bio, that's the most important thing. The CTAs are important too, as well as the link destination, because if you're sending traffic to a long form versus a landing page or a different kind of long form, that can make a huge difference. But I wouldn't really stress too much about like the order of your pins as well, because at the end of the day, you have to understand that it's a human going through your Instagram profile. So if you've enticed them to even get there in the first place, chances are they're going to spend at least like 30, 40 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes to kind of see what's happening. So if you're losing people really quickly, which unfortunately there isn't a way to measure how long somebody's on your profile, then you might want to change it, but I wouldn't stress about that too much. then what you want to track is your profile visits, so you can get a number of how many people are seeing your profile, how many people are following you in that period of time, because somebody is very unlikely to just click follow on the bottom left when they see your Instagram reel. They'll go to your page first before they decide to follow. So you can see if your bio change or your pin post changes are actually making a difference in the amount of people that are actually following you from the visits. You can track link clicks. This is the main metric that I'm tracking because it makes a huge difference for me, because I know that the more people that watch my long form videos, the more people that are likely to want to work with me, because they actually spend more one-to-one time with me and kind of see my thought process and all that kind of stuff. And then DM initiations as well. So if your CTA is for somebody to DM you a keyword, you can check how many people are actually DMing you that as well. Because if you change a couple things and you realize that, from one week to the next, you're getting twice as many DMs, you probably made the right changes that actually got people to want to DM you as well. Here's a perfect example of how switching up your bio and your profile can actually make a huge difference in the amount of people that are converting, or converting in the sense of getting them to the next phase in your funnel. So you can see here from the 13th of October to the 2nd of November, I had about 2,398 people visit my profile and 62 people click on the link. This was a 2.59% click-through rate, which is not amazing, but it could be higher. And that's exactly what happened here. So you can see for a shorter period of time, for this 2-week period here, 3rd of November to 18th of November, I actually got just around the same, a little bit more link clicks, but I had less people on my page. So that's a 3.79% click-through rate, which is a 50% increase from here to here. And all I did was just change my bio and change a couple pin posts and stuff like that. So that just goes to show you that if you want more people to go to your landing page or whatever it may be that's on your bio, or sorry, on your page, then you want to just experiment and see different things. Because if you extrapolate this data and like make it bigger, if I were to have 10,000 people on my profile, that would be the difference between 379 people clicking and 259 people clicking. Like, the bigger the number gets, the more important it becomes. But this shows you that literally hard facts, that if you are changing your profile page the same way you would with the landing page, like split testing the headlines and that kind of stuff, if you build a landing page, you know exactly what I'm talking about, then you're going to know that this is going to make an impact on your conversions, the amount of follows you get, the amount of people you get clicking to your landing page or your VSL or your YouTube video, whatever it may be. I recommend that when you actually start testing these things, make sure to make a spreadsheet where you put like the new bio that you have in or the new pin post, and then also the date where you made it, so that you don't forget when you've changed these things, so that you can actually tell when the difference happened. Because if you just change the bio from one day to the next, you might not really remember when that change was made. So actually writing this down is a great way for you to actually be able to measure it after the fact as well. So just as a reminder, and I talk about this in all of my videos, this is the sales journey that you want people to follow when they're starting to find your content online through Instagram, whether it's organic or paid ads. So they see your content, whether it's a reel, just a normal carousel post, an ad, whatever it is, they go to your Instagram profile, they start to become yellow because they're cold at first, they might not have seen you before. They're yellow because they express some interest to see your profile. They read your bio, so they start to become a little bit more interested, because otherwise they would just swipe off. If they're looking at your pinned post and highlights, that shows that they're interested in learning even more. This can be interchangeable. So if they see your highlights first or pinned post first, doesn't really matter. Then they click the link in your bio. That shows that they have a high level of interest, because they're like, okay, I read the bio, I've seen the pinned post, I've seen a couple of reels. Now let me learn even more. Let me just check out the link in his bio, so that can go straight to your VSL, landing page, whatever you want it to be. Like I said many times, I recommend a long form video. And so the next step would be the long form / the destination of the link. And then that would lead to you either getting a DM from them, depending on how you set up your CTAs, and then eventually a call where, hopefully you're going to get some signed clients and some cash collected. So yeah, guys, that wraps up today's video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. And if you're interested in seeing more, I recommend you watch this video next, because it ties in directly to what we discussed today, where I basically break down the entire Instagram profile funnel in one video, where I show you how all of it will work. And this video specifically is just one segment of it in more detail. I don't go into extreme detail in every section in this one, so it's just an overview, but I think you'll find it very useful. And yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.